with fellow officers. The message only reached him after the Japanese had completely destroyed the U.S. Navy at Pearl Harbor on that tragic day. Other intelligence was either not gathered or mishandled. 4 hours before the attack on Pearl Harbor, when a submarine periscope was sighted and reported approximately 2 miles away from the entrance to Pearl Harbor, it was disregarded by the Naval Control Center on Ford Island. Another piece of mishandled intelligence was gathered by the Army-operated Opana Mobile Radar Unit. At around 7 o'clock a.m., they discovered a huge blip of planes on the radar screen. It was the first wave of attack from the Japanese carriers, estimated by those operating the radar to be around 50 planes. This intelligence was promptly reported to the Information Center, where an inexperienced officer on duty assumed it was the flight of B-17s scheduled for landing later that morning. If the intelligence that had been gathered to date had been circulated and the commanding officers made aware, the United States Navy would never have been unprepared for a possible Japanese attack. The damages caused by the surprise attack on Pearl Harbor would have been drastically reduced if intelligence had been shown to all those making decisions in the field in order to create a situation of greater awareness. While Pearl Harbor occurred and was a giant blow to the United States Navy, the lessons learned were not forgotten, especially when it came to deciding where to place the American carriers shortly thereafter. The place they decided was the small island of Midway in the Pacific. For those in command, it was known to be a very crucial point in the war and could possibly change the entire course of the war. Those in the field were well aware of Washington's mishandled intelligence that was never received by those making decisions in the field. This time proved to be different. Instead of relying on a government in Washington to gather intelligence and assemble it, Admiral Nimitz decided it was time to rely on the intelligence gathered by his own men. One man in specific, Commander Joseph Rochefort, headed Station Hypo, which was the Navy's code-breaking station at Pearl Harbor. They had the daunting task of breaking Japanese code JN-25 in order to discover where the Japanese planned to attack next. Their answer came in 2 letters, AF. Commander Rochefort had been intercepting various messages with the letters AF in them. He believed AF was the code name for the island of Midway. He then conducted an extremely conclusive test. Midway was instructed to send out a fake signal that they were having trouble with their water distilling plant and were short of water. Shortly thereafter, Commander Rochefort and his team intercepted a Japanese message stating that AF was short of water. From this test, Rochefort decided that the next target of the Japanese would be the island of Midway. The only thing he did not know was when the attack would occur. After quickly and skillfully deciphering the Japanese system of encrypting dates, Rochefort was able to inform Admiral Nimitz that the Japanese would attack the island of Midway on approximately the 4th of June. Commander Rochefort and his skilled team had successfully broken the Japanese codes in order to provide Admiral Nimitz with the intelligence they had gathered firsthand. This was a far better approach to guiding the Pacific Fleet into battle position, which still retained its carriers, which had been out to sea during the attack on Pearl Harbor. Even though Pearl Harbor was so devastating due to mishandled intelligence, Admiral Kimmel was taken from his command and put at fault. He was replaced by Admiral Nimitz, who in turn was determined to turn the tide of the war in the Pacific and put the Japanese Royal Navy on the defensive. Through promptly gathering and analyzing intelligence, he was able to turn the entire course of World War II and ultimately affected the outcome of the war and the history of the world that would follow.